Well, hi and welcome to Chess-Based Workshop. Thanks for clicking the link joining us for this week's edition. My name's Steve Lopez. Thanks again for being along. It's an annual tradition with Chess-Based Workshop. I've been doing chess-based technical support now since, I believe, 1992, as I recall. And it's an annual tradition that the first part of the year you tend to get the basic questions. And there's a reason for that. A lot of people get chess-based Fritz software for the first time as a Christmas gift. They never used it before, and they need to ask some of the very basic questions. So that's what we're going to deal with today, is a basic question that comes up with Fritz that's asked every year in January when people are fooling around with their new Christmas gift software. And the Fritz question I get every year, like clockwork, several times in January, is how do you play a casual game against Fritz? Not a rated game, not a timed game where you got to worry about the clock. Just how do you sit down and just play a game? Just have a game with Fritzy. So that's what we're going to look at right here. And it's not difficult to set it up, but there are a couple little things you need to know when you go to play against Fritz. That's what we're going to talk about in this chess-based workshop. Very short edition today. This shouldn't take very long. When you start the software, of course, you've got your chessboard screen, the first thing you come to when you click Play Fritz. Oh, and by the way, this also applies to Ribka, and this also applies to Shredda, and to Junior as well. We now have a new version of Junior for the first time in a while, and it applies to all of the software that uses this interface. We call it the Chess Program 12 interface. And if you're using any of those programs, when you start it up, you get your little splash screen that asks you if you want to play against your program or go to playchess.com. In this case, you want to start the program, so you click Play Fritz or Play Ribka or whatever flavor of the software you're using. You get this screen. It's your chessboard screen, what I call the main chessboard window. Go to the Home tab, which we're already at. That's actually the default. Go to the Home tab, come over here to where it says Levels. That's your first clue. This would be where you'd play a casual game. There's a button here that says Levels. It's got a little timer there. It looks like an egg timer. Click that little dot right there. It'll look like a dot or it'll look like a triangle depending on your eyesight. I'm getting older. It looks like a black blur to me, but what that is, a little arrow. It means you click on it, you can pull down another menu. So we click on it and we get this. Several things we can do here. Mate search, excuse me, is used if you have a chess checkmate problem, like out of a newspaper or magazine, or as I'm doing right now for a chess website. I'm doing a daily checkmate problem for a chess website as part of my employment. So you can do a mate search. That's not what we want here. There's also optimized strength, and we'll get to that another time. I don't really want to go into all that right now. The other thing, too, is for most of us, you don't need the strength optimized if you're going to play a casual game, because I'll tell you straight up, Fritz, unless you set it for a very, very, very low level, Fritz is liable to beat you anyway. So we'll let that one slide. What we're looking at here, what most people are looking for when they ask me, how do you do a casual game against Fritz, is they're looking for fixed time. That's what most people are referring to. So click on fixed time, and you get this dialog. It says enter number, time per move. The time per move is given in seconds. Okay? So you'll set a value, and you can set it for, say, 30 seconds a move, and then click OK, and you can begin your game. And there's a trick to that too, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. And that's how to get Fritz to play as white. That's another trick. Tell you what, I'll do it now. Otherwise I'll forget. Click OK to start your game. Now, if you want Fritz to play as white, you've clicked OK, nothing happens. Okay, first of all, if you want to play as black, how did I do that? I used the keyboard. I used Control F to turn the board around. Hold down the Control key and the letter F for flip. Flip board. Flip board, by the way, some people, and I'm not making this up, have thought that the flip board command refers to resignation when you want to stop playing a game. If that's the way you resign, remind me to always play on your chess set and not on mine. Flip board, what it means is you just turn the board around. And there is a pull down menu command for it. I think it's under board if I'm not mistaken. Here it is, flip board, big button right here. So you can go to board and flip board, keep clicking it, flip it back and forth. But for years I've just been using the keyboard command of Control F. Either way does it just fine. And then if you want Fritz to move, you hit the space bar on your keyboard. There may be a menu command to force a move from Fritz. I'm not sure where it is. Once again, some of the things that I've been doing for years, I just use the keyboard for, so I don't even pay attention to the menus. So if you hit the space bar, Fritz moves just like that. And there we are. So, and we got a game going where Fritz12 against me, 30 seconds to move, etc. Oh, I've got a different opening book loaded, Frank Marshall's Yoko piano stuff, so I'd have to actually go and fix that. So that's how you do it. Spacebar makes Fritz move. Now let's go back to new game. Control F, flip the board, and now we're going to go back to levels, fixed time. You see it's checked because I already said it. Last time we, when I started that bogus game a moment ago, I had it set for fixed time. So there's a check there. Just click on it and set the number of seconds. Now, this is where I need to talk to you a little bit something about fixed time, and that's this. Fixed time is a little bit of a misnomer, and I'll tell you why. If you set it for 30 seconds, Fritz will not move right when 30 seconds is hit. And there's a reason for that, okay? What happens, I'll explain it to you first, and then I'll show it to you using infinite analysis. That way you don't have to play through a bunch of moves out of an opening and try to get to a point where I'm actually playing. Here's what happens, is when you set it for 30 seconds a move, as I've done here, and it works the same with any time that you set. The principle is the same. But if you set it for 30 seconds a move, what happens is at the 30-second mark, Fritz is going to be at some certain search depth. It's called ply. Ply means a half move. A ply is one move for each player. It'll say, at 30 seconds a move, I'll ballpark it, say probably it'll say 15. It'll be at a 15, maybe a 14 ply search depth. It's going to try to complete that search. If it's in the middle of looking 15 ply, 7.5 moves deep into the position, it's going to try to finish that ply to make sure it doesn't miss anything before it makes a move. So it tends to take a little bit longer than 30 seconds for it to make a move. It doesn't just, when the 30-second mark is hit, it doesn't just stop and move at that point. It keeps thinking until it finishes that ply, and then it will make a move. Now I'll show you. I'm going to use a game out of the database I was looking at earlier. I'll just pick a move at random here. And we'll use infinite analysis. Notice that Fritz is thinking. 2 seconds, 3 seconds. There's a clock right over here where I'm moving the arrow. Over here you're looking at a depth, how deeply it's looked into the position. Excuse me, we're going to take a look and see where it's at when it gets to the 30-second mark. That's done a 12 ply search depth now. Now, it's running a little bit slow because I have VidCap software running. Normally it'd be a little bit farther ahead. 30 seconds, it's done a 12 ply search. There, 13, it's done. What it did, and I did not take note, I wasn't quick enough, but at the 30-second mark, it was still doing a 12 ply search. At about 32 or 33 seconds, I didn't quite catch it, but you can go back and look at this video again and see when this suddenly, when the depth changed to 13, it was at about 32 or 33 seconds. That's when Fritz would make its move at that point. So it would have taken, in this position, 33 seconds or so to make a move. Same thing with this position. We have a clock running over here, 3, 4, it's done an 11 ply search depth. I did this earlier with a couple positions. It was up around 15 or so when it got to the 30-second mark. But again, I have VidCap software running, so it slows Fritz down. It's almost done a 12 ply search. There it just hit 13. Here it's thinking. It's still looking at the first move at that ply depth. Now we hit 30 seconds. It's still doing a 13 ply search. What we're going to do is we're going to try to stop it when it switches to 14, and we'll see how many seconds it took. Still thinking, it's getting ready to go. And there it hit 14, and it took 55 seconds to get to a 14-ply search. So note what happened. When it got to 30 seconds, it was doing a 13-ply search depth. If you were playing a game in this position, Fritz would continue to think until that 13th ply, until it finished that 13th ply and got to a depth of 14, and then it would move. So I hit the stop button, and we see here 55 seconds. So Fritz would have taken 55 seconds to make a move, not 30. Just the point is, be aware of that when you set your level. As a general guideline, over my years of fooling around with these programs, generally it'll take anywhere from half the, in other words, if you set it for 30 seconds to move, it will generally take anywhere from 45 seconds to 60 seconds for it to actually move. If you set it for 60 seconds to move, it'll take anywhere from 90 seconds to 2 minutes to make a move. Generally add an extra 50 to 100% for whatever setting you set when you go for fixed time. If you set it for 10 seconds to move, it'll generally take 15 to 20 seconds to make a move. So it's a rough guideline. It's not a rule. Sometimes it'll move much more quickly. We saw a minute ago where Fritz would have moved at the 32 or 33 second mark instead of 30. But it's not going to cut off at whatever time you set. The reason why I bring that up, I get asked this all the time by people. I set Fritz for 30 seconds to move, and that sucker took 54 seconds one time. Why did it do that? That's why. It will try to finish the ply search depth, that ply depth that it's on, before it will make a move. So when 30 seconds is hit, look at the depth, and you'll notice that when it gets to the next number, when it increments up to the next number of search depth, is when it tends to move. And that takes generally half again to twice as long as whatever you set right here. It's actually simpler than it sounds, and I'm probably not expressing it very well, but I hope that you got the point. So that's an important thing to realize about setting a time in Fritz for a casual game. The other important thing to realize we talked about is how to turn the board around. If you want to play as black, once again, go to board and click flip board, or you can hit Control F on the keyboard, F for flip, and you can flip the board back and forth and play with the black pieces at the bottom. Simple as that. We'll look at another casual time setting. Actually, it's not even a time setting, but another casual play setting the next time around in Chess Base Workshop. Until then, please have fun.